and I are best friends and cousins. We didn't really grow up together, but we like to tell people we're as related as you can be without being sisters, because we're actually double cousins, which means both of our parents are brother, sister. So that's really exciting. We love working together, and we kind of combined our two skills. So we loved working together, and I had this really creative passion and she had this really awesome business mind. And we were like, what can we do to bring these together? So Navi was born. The services we offer include health education, outreach, social media management, social media marketing, marketing material creation and distribution, as well as one-on-one coaching. We recently rolled out our coaching packages. So with those, we have, we have a marketing specific one and a social media specific one, and they're both awesome. We also recently rolled out our mompreneur coaching package, where once a quarter, we will sponsor one mompreneur to come through our 6-week coaching program free of charge to really help them just boost their business. So we have that application, and if any of you are interested or know somebody that's interested, please let me know and we'll send them that application. And that's been awesome. I love our Navi mompreneurs. They're so great. So that's us. A little bit about me really quickly. I feel like sometimes I always skip that part with Navi, but I'm a mom. I have a 2-year-old son. He's a lot right now, but he's super cute. I'm married. I have my business Navi, and that's my full-time gig. I'm also, as Gina mentioned, an influencer. So I do that on the side a little bit, but really my baby is Navi. That's where my heart is. All right, so these are some of our services that we offer. And I think this is an important thing to go over, just so you get an understanding of Navi and where my expertise comes in. I don't want to dive in and start talking about building a social media strategy before you know that you can trust what I'm saying. We offer a lot of different services, all focused on health education, health outreach. Navi really was born to work with businesses that were doing great things in the world. And we found that healthcare needed us the most. So these pillars of our company are really created to support healthcare related organizations. So we offer education related services on productivity to increase their patient encounters, services on quality to increase their community health education, their quality measures, and then sustainability, which for healthcare organizations means the sustainability of their company. So making sure that their patients can get the services that they need, that people are getting preventative care, not just aftercare. So all of our work is in these 4 pillars, and they kind of divide into advertising and outreach, social media management, that kind of stuff. And then like what we call project-based work, but it's like flyers, brochures, patient outreach, like patient handouts, stuff like that. And we can do this for any company, but primarily for healthcare. Okay, I want to make sure that my screen sharing settings are correct. Okay. Watch this quick 5-minute video of social media marketing. It's going to give you a broad overview. Many of you may know this, so it's just a reiteration for you if you do already know this. But it's a good foundation for us to talk about the specific strategies to implement for social media marketing. First, you have to have an understanding of what it is. This is going to cover organic and paid.
Imagine it's the year 2004. This is Phil. Phil's looking to release a book and set up a blog. He's sure that it'd be successful, but he's only worried about one thing. He doesn't know how to ensure that his book reaches the right target audience who could enjoy his book. During that period of time, however, there were only a few forms of advertisement available, like print ads, billboards, radio, direct mail, direct sales, and the television. All of these options were pretty expensive. Their effectiveness couldn't be accurately determined, and they didn't let him advertise his content to the appropriate audience. Phil's book would never find the audience it deserved. Now, Let's have a look at the same scenario in the present day. Alongside traditional forms of advertising, Phil would have access to digital marketing, a form of marketing that's a lot more lucrative, inexpensive, and configurable. Marketing that would enable marketers to advertise their audience digitally using channels like search engines, websites, social media platforms, emails, etc. Among these types, social media marketing caught Phil's eye. Social media marketing would give Phil the opportunity to take advantage of social media platforms to advertise his content to a highly targeted audience. It would help more people learn about his book, increase the interaction with his audience. It's relatively inexpensive, unless he goes into advertising, and will help him get marketplace insights that might help in understanding his audience preferences better. Phil started by taking up a certification to learn about social media marketing. Since he was already familiar with the concept of social media marketing, his next step was to learn about the different types of content he could post on social media. Some of the most common forms of content that Phil could post would be images, text posts, polls, and videos. But over time, Phil began to notice that not a lot of people were being exposed to his content. Phil needed to advertise his content. For that, he would need to use the advertising options provided by the social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Most advertising platforms offer users with a number of different options like image ads. These ads involve the use of single or multiple images that are attractive and have the optimal amount of text. They also have a call to action that encourages user interaction. Phil could use images from his book, advertise websites that sell his book, and more. Then there are text and post ads. These ads could advertise posts or excerpts from Phil's blog or his book, further garnering interest from an interesting audience. He could also use video ads. Phil could use video ads that feature favorable reviews and customer testimonials to advertise his books. Phil could also use lead ads, through which he could collect information from users who are interested in a weekly newsletter or regular updates from his blog. But that wasn't the only thing Phil could do with social media platforms. He could create a brand for himself and drive audience interest to it. Engage with them, create an identity, engage with content, finding content that works for him. Social media platforms also allowed him the opportunity to target audiences based on demographics like their age, location, gender, and much more. And in time, Phil began to see an increase in the number of viewers coming to his social media page and, by extension, his blog. He also saw an increase in the number of people who bought his book, greatly increasing his audience. Here are some things he learned. 1. To set goals that were quantitative, smart, and follow a constant deadline. 2. To understand his audience by engaging and connecting with them. 3. To set up a social media calendar to plan competitions, polls, surveys, videos, and more. 4. Using tools like BuzzSumo, IFTTT, Buffer, and more for lead generation, creating email lists, setting buyer personas, and more. 5. To perform visual storytelling with the help of images and videos. But how did Phil get so good at social media marketing? Before we find the answer to that question,
I'm going to stop it there because I'm going to help you answer that question today. So how do we get good at social media marketing? How do we combine our efforts of paid advertising and organic advertising that work together to build your business or your personal page? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So the 10 steps to building your social media strategy, we're going to walk through each one of these. The majority of these steps are really just questions for you to consider. And if you go through and answer all of these questions, and I'm happy to send these slides so Gina can send them out, but if you go through and you answer the questions to each of these steps, by the end, you will have a very solid social media strategy. The important caveat here is that this is strategy. What we're going to talk about today is answering questions, deciding how you're going to manage your business, how you're going to share your content. Then the work sets in and you have to go follow up on that strategy. So whatever you decide today, whatever answers to these questions you find and you set this strategy, the next step is consistency, putting this strategy into place. And that's where the growth will come in. So I'm going to help you develop your strategy, and then I'm going to let you go and implement this strategy and see that growth on your personal and business pages. So, I was going to go over the steps. The 10 steps. 1, outline your goals. And we're going to go through each of these in depth. 2, we're going to develop a budget. 3, we're going to establish your target audience. 4, review your competitor profiles. 5, choose your social media platforms. 6, make your profile consistent. 7, create your social media calendar. 8, create your engagement plan. 9, complete your social media audit. And then 10, review your analytics and adapt. You will see some of these were mentioned in that video. I took it a step further because I think that it needs some background and it needs some follow-up. So again, once we go through all these steps, hopefully you will have in your toolkit what you need for a successful business and personal account. All right, step 1 is outline your goal. As we're starting with a social media strategy, it's really important to know the purpose. Depending on your type of account, it could be very different. If you're an influencer, your goal may be to make money and get paid brand collaborations. If you're a business, it could be to get new leads or new clients. If you're a business, it could also be to engage with your current customer base. Whatever it is, let's set your goal. And I'm going to have you set 2 goals. One is going to be set your business goal, and the other is going to be correlate that to a social media goal. An example is below. The goal is to increase patient encounters. So for our healthcare clients, typically what they want is to increase their patient encounters. What that means is increase the number of patients that are coming into their clinic to receive care. How are we going to relate that to social media? How do we know that social media is supporting that? For us, it's increasing our followers on our account. If we're getting our content in front of more people, we're more likely to see an increase in patient encounters. Then we're going to measure both over time. We're going to say, let's look at your patient encounters and your followers, and they should be correlated. Same with engagement. Let's say we wanted a more engaged patients. We wanted higher health education. We wanted patients that were returning to us. Then we would be measuring engagement, not followers. So depending on your business goal, your social media goal will change. And I think that's the important thing here, is knowing that the 2 goals should be related. They should help each other. So set both and make sure that you're measuring both. Step 2 is to develop your budget. This is where those questions come in. Things for you to consider. A good rule of thumb is to allocate 7 to 8% of your gross project revenue on marketing. So that means that you should be spending 7 to 8% on marketing total. The things that go into that include any platforms that you're paying for, any paid ads, any person or agency you're paying to run those ads or run your social media. To help you come up with this budget, consider what your current state of your marketing is. Let's say that your account is doing excellent and you're getting really great organic reach. You could probably decrease that budget if it's already meeting your goals. It's also really important to consider, if you're just starting out, what are the startup costs? Are you going to have to pay for a logo and brand design to start these social media accounts? Make sure that's included in your budget. I always like to look at how your competitors are acting in the industry. So we'll talk about doing a competitor analysis a little bit later, but also look at your competitors. Are they spending a lot on social media marketing? If so, you may want to include a budget for paid advertising in your overall marketing budget. It's also really important to look at your buyer's journey. So where are they going first? Maybe increase your spend there. So I like to literally get a piece of paper and draw out the buyer's journey. Where are they finding you very first? Then where are they going next? And make sure that you're allocating budget for each of those steps so that your buyer is getting the support they need along the way to that final purchase. All right, step 3 is to establish your target audience. Establishing your target audience is so important. I kind of talked about this earlier when I said, hey, shout out to my mom. You know, when I get nervous, I talk directly to her. I do the same thing on our social media. I have in my mind this certain person. I'm like, this is who my target audience is. And every time I post, every time I say anything, I'm talking directly to that person. They have a face, they have a name, they have a demographic. I know everything about that person. And you should have this for your business. And then make sure that everything you post is communicating directly to them. Things that are important to include in your buyer persona are basic demographics: age, sex, gender, sexual orientation, race, hair color, eye color, all of that. Psychographics: what are they into? What do they like? Are they working mom, or are they a stay-at-home mom? What are their psychographics? Their professional and educational status. What level of education are they at? Any pain points or challenges that they're facing in their life. Any purchasing processes they typically go through. And then lastly, any influences or information sources. So what that means is where are they getting their content? Are they typically on YouTube? Or are they typically on Twitter? People get their content in different places. If your target persona is really into politics, you're probably going to want to be on Twitter. That's where they're going to be. So giving them this target persona is going to help you decide how to target that person and how to communicate directly to that person. Okay, step 4, review your competitor profiles. So these are questions for you to help you review your competitor profiles. First, I would just start a list and get 2 to 3 competitors. Who are your top competitors? And I would stick to only 2 to 3. You don't want to get overwhelmed, and you don't want to do too little. You don't want to do just one competitor because it's not going to give you enough information. Here are the questions to think about when you're looking at their profiles. I would literally pull up all of their social profiles, their website, and then ask these questions and write down the answers. Where are they posting? When are they posting? What kind of content are they posting? And then if you can find this information, like if you can see any paid ads, how much are they allocating to marketing? And then how is your target audience interacting with those competitors? So again, if your target audience is really into politics and your product has something to do with that, and your competitors are doing that, is your target audience interacting with those competitors? And if the answer is yes, then you want to follow in the footsteps of their social media marketing strategy. If they're not, then that tells you that they are not well, one, they might not even be your competitors, but 2, your strategy needs to be different because they're not getting in front of the right audience. And then I always like to throw in what hashtags are they using. Hashtags are not as important as they used to be, but it's still a good thing to note. So as I'm going through their profiles, I'll always see if there's a consistent hashtag across multiple competitors that people, in the industry tend to be using. All right, step 5 is choose your platform. So we have our strategy, we know what we're going to spend on social media, we know our target persona. That's going to help us decide our platforms. I would start with 1 to 2 platforms. You do not want to get overwhelmed. This is a list of some platforms, and I know there's a million others depending on your target audience. So using the previous steps, determine the platforms you should be on. Where is your target audience? Do they watch video more? Do they look at photos? Where are they? What kind of content do they like? So if your target audience tends to be on Instagram, do they like photos or do they like videos better? That will help you determine. Start with 1 to 2, then expand. So if you're a business and you're targeting other businesses, the best place to be might be LinkedIn, because that's where you're going to connect with business professionals. So determine your target persona first, then determine the platforms you should be on. If you're already established, let's say you already have a couple social media platforms, we're going to talk about an audit where you can go back and kind of follow through these steps and say, am I doing great right now? Is this where I need to be? And if the answer is yes, great. If it's not, then we'll start back over at step 1 and go through these same steps to make sure that you're on the platforms you should be on. All right, step 6, you chose your platforms. Now you need to make them consistent. By consistent, I mean consistent. Your username, your profile picture, your background and cover photos, your bios, your posts, your colors, your fonts, your style, everything should be consistent across every platform. So that means when people go to your website and they go to your Facebook and they go to your Instagram and your YouTube, they know that it's the same company. You should not have different colors and different fonts and different design types for each platform. You should have one for your business that is across all of them. And I like to take it a step further with the username profiles, like bio, your background covers, because if you are easily recognizable on those platforms, people are going to be able to find you on across platform, which is really important. People will look you up to make sure that you're established. So they find your business, the first thing they're going to do is pull up Facebook or Instagram and look you up. And if they can't find you because you're a business and your profile picture is actually just a picture of you, they may not even click, they may not know that that's a thing, that your business exists. So it's important that you are using consistent profile pictures across platforms so people can easily find you. With consistency also comes posting. Every single social media platform has a similar algorithm. And the way that it works is it's based on your consistent posting. So when you post consistently, and what I mean by that is not daily, it means choosing a schedule that works for you and posting on those schedules. So if you're going to post Tuesday, Thursday, then you post every Tuesday, every Thursday, so that the algorithm and your customers they can know what to expect. They know when you're going to be posting. So once we have it all set up, we know which platforms we're going to be using. Consistency, consistency, consistency. I always tell my clients, I'm like, if you are posting consistently for a year and not seeing growth, then we can talk. But consistency for a year is required to see growth. And I will live and die by that. It is really important to maintain your engagement over time. It is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So being consistent is the way to win the race. All right. Creating your social media calendar. So you have your target persona, you know where you're going to be posting. Now it's time to create your content. First tip is to batch your content. What that means is create a lot of content at one time. I like to create a month of content and schedule it out. These are free tools and resources that you can use to create your content. Canva, completely free. It's where you can design all of your content. Creator Studio is Facebook and Instagram's scheduling software. So if you're on Facebook and Instagram, you can schedule your posts in advance through a free platform, made by Facebook. Grammarly is for grammar and writing. So I put all of my captions and everything I write in there. And then Review is actually a newsletter platform through Twitter. So again, these are just some free resources for you to be able to batch your content and create your social media calendar. The important thing with the social media calendar, again, is the consistency. Choose a schedule that works for you and don't burn out. So you don't need to be posting every day. If you can, that's great. Posting more is definitely going to get you more engagement or higher reach, but it's better to post consistently twice a week than post every day for 2 weeks and then get burned out. The consistency over time is far more important than the amount of posting. So focus on that consistency and choose a schedule that works for you and works for your life. Don't post too frequently if it's going to burn you out. Okay, step 8 is create your engagement plan. And it talked about this in the video. Engagement is the thing that is going to convert people into buyers or clients or customers or whatever your goal is, brand deals. Your engagement is how often people are seeing your post and then interacting with it. So that could be a like, a comment, a share. It could be a save on Instagram, retweet on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube. So whatever it is, it's when they see your content and then they take an action to engage with you. Creating an engagement plan is really important. And an engagement plan is basically a way for you to determine how you are going to deal with and handle engagement. When somebody comments on your message or comments on your post or messages you, who is responding to that? Is that someone on your team? Is that you directly? How long do you want your response time to be? Are you going to respond once a week, once a day? How are you going to respond? If you schedule appointments and people message you, so if that's part of your business, who's going to schedule that? How will they schedule that? Is there a link that someone's going to send them? Where is your product sold? How will you point the customers to that direction? Is it through your bio? Are you going to give them a link every time they ask for it? What tone of voice is your company using? If you're having somebody on your team respond to comments and manage your engagement, What tone of voice are they using? They shouldn't be speaking from their own. They should be speaking from your brand voice. So making sure that you have that determined. What is your brand voice? This is a really important one, is how will your business engage organically? So what this means, and this is something that Navi created, we call it daily authentic engagement. And for every one of our clients, we are going into their account and engaging from their account. This is organic engagement. That's not people responding to our posts and our messages. It's us going out and responding to their posts and their messages. So it shows that we're active. The important piece here is that it shows the Instagram algorithm that we're active. It's getting our name out there. So if we like a post and someone's like, oh, who is this? Then they could go follow us and see who we are. It's also just showing the community that we're not just here to spread our message. We're here to engage also. It's a two-way street. So having a daily authentic engagement plan is really important. We have a 15-minute strategy, and I will share it with anybody that wants it, but it's based on hashtags, geolocations, and certain accounts and their followers, where we'll go in and like their posts, comment on stuff that we feel like relates to our industry. And again, this is authentic engagement. It's not something that we're just going to go and say, hey, good post, hey, good post, hey, good post on everything. We're going to go and read their post. And if it's really good and we have a thought, then we're going to comment that. And that's the important part here, is having an engagement strategy that's authentic and true to your brand. The last thing for engagement considerations is, will you be utilizing engagement strategies like stories and lives to build your online community? And if yes, how and when? So for most platforms, you can go live, and a lot of platforms now have stories. Stories are a great way to create engagement with your existing followers. And that's a very particular caveat there. This is not something that's going to grow your account, but it's going to solidify the community and the followers you already have. So how are you going to ensure that you're engaging your current followers while also engaging new potential followers and customers? Having an engagement strategy is just as important as having a posting schedule and posting strategy. Your engagement strategy is what's going to really take your social media strategy from posting randomly to really solid and supporting your business. A really quick tip here is to use the automatic responses if they're available on the platform you selected. This is, if somebody is wondering about your hours, then you can have these automatic responses. Again, don't just use the ones that they provide. Set up good questions that people are typically asking about your company, and make sure the responses are in your voice. Thank you so much for messaging us. We're so glad you're here. Our hours are blah, blah, blah. So making sure that you are really being authentic, but also using the tools available so you don't burn out. Okay, step 9 is complete a social media audit. Social media audits are really important. We do a lot of audits that are very specific for Instagram, of how to optimize Instagram specifically. But this is an audit that you can perform across all of your platforms. The first thing you're going to do is start with a baseline. So 90 days after you launch your account, or if your account was already launched, go do it now, before you make any optimizations, and get the data. How is your account performing? Then in 60 to 90 days, you're going to do it again, and you're going to compare the results. Did the optimizations work? Are you growing? Those are the things that you're going to look at, is the growth over time. Okay. You can invest in social media analytic tools, but it's not necessary. I would start out by just looking at this checklist, and then we're going to talk about analytics to measure. So the first is your branding consistent across every platform? So 60 to 90 days, you're going to pull them up. And especially if you're not the one managing your account, you want to do this, pretty frequently, once a quarter. Is everything consistent? Are your colors consistent in your content? Is your logo the same? Is your background, is your bio, just pull it up and it's just a check mark. Yes, branding is consistent. The content is optimized for each platform. I'm going to use Facebook and Instagram as an example. Because they work so well together, people always just post. They're like, oh, post from Instagram, automatically post to Facebook. But is that optimized? And the answer to that is no. If you post a reel on Instagram, the sizing must be changed for it to be optimized to Facebook. So that automatic posting feature is really nice, but then your content isn't optimized for the platforms you're using, and you might as well not be using that platform because the platform's not going to push your content unless it's optimized for that platform. So is your content optimized for each platform? Yes or no? Your audience is engaging with your content. This is where you can look at your engagement rate, and we'll talk about that on the next slide. But I would put your engagement rate for the last 90 days and see if that's gone up or down. You're meeting your goals or trending in the right direction. So always look back at that very first goal we set. If your goal was more patient encounters, are you getting more patient encounters? Because if you're not, then your social media is not supporting your goals. The goal of the audit is just to get a really good understanding of how your social media platforms are performing all together in relation to your goal. And then I really want to make an important distinction here that you should measure the metrics that matter to you. So what I care about for my social media platforms and my business are very different than what you're going to care about. So again, look back at that goal because that goal will help you determine what you should be measuring. Okay. Step 10, review your analytics and adapt. Here are some things you can learn from your analytics. And then we're going to talk about basic metrics and what they mean and where to apply them. Things you can learn is the content your audience likes. What are they engaging with the most? What is your most liked content? The content that creates the most conversions. And you'll see that these can be very different things. An audience may not, or one post may not have really high engagement, but you'll see that it actually got you more conversions. And these are important things to measure. Again, it depends on what your goal is. If your goal is more engagement, then you may not be as concerned about the conversions. If your goal is conversions, engagement is great, but you want to see that end result, which is a conversion. What's the best day of the week to post? The best time to post, and what CTAs or call to actions are the most effective for the goal that you've set. These are very basic metrics that I recommend every single person measure for their accounts. The first is impressions. This is just the number of times your post was seen. So keep in mind, one person may have seen this post multiple times. It's just the number of times that your post was shown, which is great because it's showing you how many times it was seen by everyone. It's not super effective because it's not telling you the number of people that saw your post. So if your goal is conversions, you care more about the number of people that saw your post than the number of times that was seen, which is reach. Reach is the number of unique people that have seen your post. You'll see impressions and reach next to each other, and reach will always be less because multiple people saw your post multiple times. So impressions will be higher than reach. Then measure engagement, the number of likes, comments, saves, shares. All of these will be really important. You can break that out into each one of those or do like a mass, which they call like content interactions. So just the number of content interactions. Then we've talked about this is your engagement rate. I really, really love engagement rate because it tells me how my content is performing for the audience I'm targeting. There are multiple ways to measure engagement. The first is engagement over reach. So that tells you the number of people that saw your post and then took an action to engage with that content. You can also do followers or engagement over followers. So the number of followers you have and then how many of them are engaging. That one is not, we call true engagement or true engagement rate is engagement over reach because all of your followers may not see your post. With the way that the algorithms are changing, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whoever subscribed or follows your account may not always see your content because your content is being pushed to people that may not be following you. So reach is a better indicator for how your account is performing. I would really recommend that you start with a few metrics and then expand. Every single platform is going to have a few special metrics that you could measure, and it depends on that platform. These are ones that across any platform you can measure. But if you're on YouTube, you're going to want to dive into those video analytics, see when your drop-off rate is, see what your bounce rate is. If you're looking at your website or your SEO, there's going to be other metrics. But start here, start with the base. And as you're doing those social media audits, look at these base metrics. And then as you get really comfortable with your account and your analytics, then you can take the next step to expand your analytics. Now, the really important thing here is, as you're measuring these, make sure you take the next step and adapt from them. If you're seeing that you have a really low engagement rate, you need to optimize your call to actions. If you're seeing that your impressions are really high, but your reach is really low, multiple people are seeing your post multiple times, and you want to reach a higher audience. So maybe you want to try a new content type like Reels, or expand to another platform. Maybe your audience isn't on the right platform, or maybe you aren't on the right platform where your audience is. So looking at this information is going to tell you how to move forward to optimize it and see better results the next time you do an audit. Okay, that was a lot of information, steps 1 through 10 of how to create a social media strategy.
Watching this or what?
I wish that there was a really simple, here's how to just launch your social media, but it's actually not. Creating a strategy can be complex, but if you go through these steps and answer these questions, by the end, you will have all the information you need to have a really successful social media strategy. Those are the 10 steps. I recommend them to everybody. And I think that's it. Any questions for me?
Savvy, I think this was just amazing, and such, so much information for us to process and to consider. And I appreciate all that you covered. So here, Stephanie has a question. So, right, I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie.